Hello everyone. My name is Nikol Vladinska, and I'm a program manager for the Cloud for Sustainability product team here at Microsoft. I'm joined by my colleague and group product manager, Robin Smith. Today we'll be talking about how you can align to sustainability regulations using Copilot Studio and Dataverse. For our agenda today, we'll first go through an introduction to Copilot Studio, a new Microsoft technology that enables organizations to either create their own agents or extend Copilot for Microsoft 365. After that, we'll deep dive into an example of an agent template through the lens of setting up reduction goals, followed by an overview and demo of an upcoming agent template for the EU Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. Then, we'll walk through a few ways in which you can make these templates, or any new template, your own through customization. Finally, we'll close out our session today with a summary and list of available resources. Copilot Studio is a low-code, interface-driven tool that can be used for creating both custom agents, which can be integrated into Microsoft or enterprise offerings, as well as extensions of Copilot for Microsoft 365. With custom agents, you can integrate company data for real-time retrieval. Then, you can surface your agent in a multitude of ways, from Canvas apps to supported enterprise applications, such as Microsoft Sustainability Manager. Alternatively, you can extend the existing Copilot from Microsoft 365 by adding specific tasks and integrating valuable industry domain knowledge. Before we move on, I want to talk a little bit about how Copilot Studio is a great new tool in our Cloud for Sustainability toolkit to use with sustainability initiatives. As compliance standards continue to evolve, it's crucial to have the ability to quickly adapt and meet diverse needs, such as varying standards by geography or industry. The Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability team has been experimenting with new technologies to address these changing initiatives and meet the needs of organizations for understanding these initiatives, applying them to their organization, and ultimately becoming compliant. By leveraging Copilot Studio, which comes with many out-of-the-box connectors, such as Dataverse, and pairing that with one or more open-source compliance standards, you are well on your way to understanding and preparing organizational-specific data for these sustainability initiatives. We have one agent template for Copilot Studio. The Sustainability Insights Copilot experience enables users to ask questions about sustainability documents, such as public sustainability reports, quickly and easily using generative AI. In this session, we'll be going over one new template we're announcing, specific to the EU Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, or CBAM, as well as how we're exploring templates related to creating sustainability goals. Let's begin by going through an example of a Copilot Studio template, aimed at helping organizations understand how to create carbon reduction goals that align to regulatory compliance methodologies, such as the Science-Based Targets Initiative. Let's take a look at an example through the lens of the Science-Based Targets Initiative, which guides companies in setting robust emission reduction targets. It's a structured 5-step process: commitment to align with climate science, development of a detailed plan, submission for validation, communication of the commitment, and finally, disclosure to track progress. The SBTi Copilot template could come into play as an aid here, helping in the initial discovery and guiding users through target development. Let's take a look at how a template like this could be structured. The first step in our process is to add the necessary knowledge sources needed for our agent template. In the example we're looking at here, some relevant documents may be the SBTi Getting Started and Criteria documents. Next, we want to give our users the ability to learn about the particular regulatory system that they're aligning to. We can do this by creating a simple topic that uses the Create Generative Answers node. Within this node, we can select the same documents that we uploaded in Step 1 as our knowledge base. Now, Steps 3 and 4 are where we can truly add value for organizations. In Step 3, we once again use the Create Generative Answers node, but this time we'll utilize a light form of meta-prompting in order to give the agent specific instructions and make it more beneficial for the user. Following our SBTi example from earlier, these instructions guide our agent to create a simple step-by-step series of instructions that users can utilize in order to create their goal. Finally, we can extend Step 3 with an adaptive card and Power Automate flow. Adaptive cards can be customized to include things like images, links, fields for the user to fill out, and much more. In our case, we want to collect the information needed to create a new goal in Microsoft Sustainability Manager. Therefore, our card will mostly contain text, number, and date fields for the user to fill out. Then, we'll use a simple Power Automate flow, which adds a row to a Dataverse table to send this information to our MSM environment. This not only helps us maintain the work completed during this session, but also introduces a crucial connection between Copilot Studio and Microsoft Sustainability Manager.
Now let's go over our second Copilot Studio template aimed at supporting organizations with calculating the carbon fee associated with importing goods into the EU. This template helps organizations learn about, estimate, and prepare for the financial obligations and reporting requirements of the EU Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, or CBAM, using Copilot Studio and Dataverse. First, let's talk about what EU CBAM is. Less stringent climate policies in non-EU countries can lead to carbon leakage from the EU. This occurs when EU-based companies move carbon-intensive production abroad and when EU products are replaced by more carbon-intensive imports. The EU CBAM Copilot empowers organizations to estimate their carbon fee based on the product's carbon footprint. When you set a carbon fee within your organization, you can align it with the EU's Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. This will help organizations plan and also budget correctly. This mechanism puts a price on carbon-intensive goods imported into the EU to help ensure that carbon prices of imports and domestic products align. By estimating the carbon fee to be paid under the EU CBAM, businesses can align their carbon fee with the EU's regulations, which are currently in a transitional phase and expected to be fully in effect by January 2026. The goal of CBAM is to ensure that carbon pricing is factored into imported goods, which might otherwise compete unfairly with EU goods that have carbon costs already built in. This feature helps support the EU's climate objectives, maintain competitiveness, and avoid potential regulatory penalties. Welcome to the agent template for the EU CBAM, a place to learn and plan for this initiative. This agent uses two groups of knowledge sources. First, the EU CBAM site, and next, the MSM carbon footprint entity through the Dataverse connector. AI general knowledge is also enabled. This agent can assist with several things: general info, how to calculate the fee, finding embodied carbon, and applying the carbon price to find an estimated fee. Let's start by learning about carbon leakage and how the EU thinks that it is addressing through the CBAM program. Next, I need help estimating how much I should set aside for some goods being imported into the EU. Users can ask the Copilot to help understand what it needs to calculate. The agent responds with the items needed. It finds this information for me and gives me details around each step, including how it uses the carbon price and what it needs to estimate the fee. It provides logic used in the calculations, which I appreciate as a practitioner. Here we really see the general knowledge source at work. Now, I want to use my product carbon footprints, which are part of the Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability, or MCFS, data model. Using the Copilot Studio Dataverse connector, I can access my Dataverse data. Because the MCFS data model is available outside of Microsoft Sustainability Manager, this option is also available to any organization with a Power Platform license. Once I find the embodied carbon of the material I am importing into the EU, I then ask the agent to calculate the estimated CBAM fee. I provide a price, and then the agent does a nice job of walking me through the logic that it used, including unit conversions. If developers are using this tool, they can see the logic being parsed by the LLM. As an end user, I can take this information and use it for budgeting purposes, which is critical for any global businesses starting in 2025. You can see how simple it is to bring in data from Dataverse, use that data, and actually calculate with it in context using a public knowledge base. Now, let's discuss a few of the ways in which you can make these templates or any other templates you create your own. First, use the instructions or create generative answers, meta prompts, to give your Copilot additional directive or organization-specific context for a more pointed and accurate answer. Next, add to Copilot's knowledge base from sources like SharePoint, Dataverse, and a variety of connectors. Knowledge sources act as the first reference point Copilot uses to get your users the information they need. Here's another tip. If you want Copilot to be able to use its own general knowledge, in addition to the knowledge sources you've provided, you can turn that toggle on from the Overview tab. From experience, I can say there are times where it works and where it works better to leave it off. And that is up to you and something you can experiment with while you're making your agents. Next, enhance Copilot's abilities with additional topics. Topics are a collection of nodes, each of which can perform an action such as sending the user a message, asking a question, or even collecting information from the user through an adaptive card. User studies definitely indicate that adaptive cards result in a more positive user experience to your Copilot. Finally, extend your Copilot's functionality even further with Power Automate flows. As we saw in the SBTi example template, Power Automate flows can be integrated directly into a topic, allowing you full control over when they're triggered and the types of actions that they perform. In summary, we challenge you to create your own agents using Copilot Studio. It is amazing how quickly value can be achieved through LLM and multiple data sources. We showcased a couple today, but there are quite a few more within Copilot Studio ready to be configured. We challenge you to find an unanswered question or need for your customers and organizations that you work with, utilizing the power of open and closed data sources, connecting through LLM using Copilot Studio. We believe the sustainability world is full of emerging standards, data sources, and untapped resources that we can all work together to meet needs more quickly. Thank you for joining us today as we discussed how Copilot Studio can help you align to various sustainability activities and regulations. Here are a few resources for you to check out related to Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability and Copilot Studio.